Young Master 2, I've been worried that you've been gone for half a year since you disappeared. Shen Fei circled around Tu Yan and checked it carefully. You have already divorced the crippled Gu family, right? You have to break it clean, don't leave any trouble. Tu Yan was lying on the curved sofa in the bar, with his legs raised and a wine glass in his hand, but he didn't drink. He heard the word crippled and frowned unconsciously. Just a little leg ailment. The eyes of the people next to her converged, and Tu Yan closed his mouth after explaining halfway through, and only said, well, divorced. Guan Nan, your father is also drunk, and the company has not yet collapsed, so he is in a hurry to sell his son to pay off the debt. Said that the looks ugly, the pheromone level is also low, and he has to walk with crutches. Shen Fei saw that Tu Yan's face was getting worse and worse, and quickly winked at the people around him, don't say it, and Tu Xiao will spit it out. People have just recovered their freedom, and you are still there. This adds to the blockage for him. Come, drink, and start a new life for Tu Xiao, cheers. He didn't know what was wrong with him. It stands to reason that you should be happy with your new life. Drinking halfway through the wine, Guan Nan leaned over slightly drunk. He dared not move Tu Yan, but twisted his body to peek at the back of Tu Yan's neck. Tu Yan was upset by him, and cursed, what the are you looking at? Guan Nan smiled, I want to see if you have been completely marked. I asked for my brother, you know, he has always had a crush on you. Tu Yan was stunned for a moment, his hand unconsciously touched the raised gland on the back of the neck. It was still smooth, like a fresh and tender fruit that was not picked. No, Tu Yan replied, but I don't like your brother, it's impossible. Guan Nan sneered, okay, I'm just asking for him, don't be angry, I know that you have high vision, and you are involved in your father's bad things, marrying such a person, you have suffered for the past 6 months. After a lot of hardships, it will be fine in the future. By the way, Master 2, will you go back to film in the future? Tu Yan was originally only close to Shen Fei, and most of them were nodding acquaintances. I don't know where these people heard the news. Knowing that he was married and divorced, he even gave a special gift to him. He held a bachelor party, and Tu Yan had to come over because of his face, but from the moment he sat down, he was upset for no reason, and it was difficult to calm down. He put down the wine glass, poked a piece of fruit into his mouth, and nodded impatiently. That's definitely a sensation in the entertainment industry. Everyone gathered around Tu Yan again, raised their wine glasses, and began to congratulate him on his nirvana rebirth. Young Master 2, you are not in the rivers and lakes. There are legends about you everywhere. I saw that last week there were media reports that you disappeared because you went abroad to give birth, saying that you were pregnant with the actor Chi He. Kid, I'm dying of laughter. Shen Fei is a fan of Chi He, so he quickly defended, what's the matter? I think someone like Chi He is worthy of Mr. Tuesday. He narrowed his eyes and said slyly, I heard people say that Chi He's pheromone level is level 8, so it's strong in that respect. Everyone laughed, how strong? It's just to make people want to die. When we talked about this topic, everyone became interested and began to communicate with the famous alpha in the circle. I heard that Gu's family is also a top alpha. It's true that the eldest of the Gu family is a top alpha, but Tu Yan is married to the second young master of the Gu family, a mediocre lame man who has never shown his face. Thinking about it, he knows that it's a hindrance. Everyone looked at each other, thinking, Tu Yan must be angry. Shen Fei and Tu Yan have the strongest relationship, and he dared to get up and was about to make a joke to save the scene, but found that Tu Yan did not participate in their chat at all. He was looking at holding the fruit plate, biting his lip, his cheeks were still flushed. He pushed Tu Yan, only then did Tu Yan come back to his senses like a dream, and stood up abruptly under everyone's astonished eyes. Then what? I'm a little drunk, I'll go back first. The time for Tu Yan's comeback set by the agent is January 2nd. The agent thought he was nervous, and came to talk with him specially, but after a long chat, she found that Tu Yan was not worried about her comeback at all, and told him that he lost hundreds of thousands of fans in the past 6 months, and he also don't care, don't blink. The agent thought about it and guessed, Xiao Yan, are you approaching the estrus period? Tu Yan sat up abruptly, time passed quickly in his mind, and finally realized the crux of the problem. Yes, it is indeed almost estrus. To be precise, it was delayed, it should have come a few days ago. Do you need me to help you buy antipyretics? The agent asked him in a low voice. The antipyretic drug is currently the most effective drug to solve the omega estrus period in addition to the physiological combination, and has no side effects. Tu Yan shook his head, I have it at home. Okay, then you should rest. The agent knows Tu Yan's temperament and has always been indifferent to others. Even though the agent has been with him since his debut, he still cannot enter his private life, even if he quit the circle for half a year without any reason. Tu Yan only told her that the important matters at home may take half a year, during this time you can bring other artists, and the other details are not followed at all. She revealed. The agent felt very chilling at first, but now he is gradually getting used to it. Tu Yan has a wealthy family, looks very good, and his acting skills belong to a talented youth type. There is no shortage of topics, no shortage of filming, and agent's people can follow the tide, and that's enough. I have nothing to do, I'll go first. Tu Yan flipped through the schedule, checked the time with his agent, put down the folder, and said, by the way, I'll drive back by myself, no need driver. Okay, you have a good rest these days. The agent asked again. Tu Yan hooked the car keys, got into the car, and sat alone in the small driver's seat for a while, and finally chose to follow her heart and drive to that place. When he signed the divorce agreement, he thought he would never come back here again. Who would have thought that it had only been less than a month and this was his second visit? The man must not get off work, the villa looks pitch dark from the outside. Tu Yan put down his hanging heart, pressed the brim of the cap, lowered his head and walked to the door to unlock the combination. The password is still Tu Yan's birthday and wedding anniversary. Tu Yan snorted softly. He walked in, first looked at the shoe cabinet and the living room. There was only a pair of slippers on the cushion at the door, the sofa was clean, and there was no trace of guests coming and going. Not bad, Tu Yan raised his eyebrows. He walked to the bedroom and smelled the faint woody fragrance that was exclusive to that person, which lingered quietly and not aggressively in his nose, slurped his footsteps, and his eyes were suddenly wet. In this room what happened came to mind. But he knew that all of this had been ended by himself, and nostalgia would add to his troubles. He sniffed and attributed all the fragile emotions just now to the coming estrus period. He walked over to the closet, opened half of his top, and found a smoky grey knitted cardigan among the dark coats lined up neatly. It is already early autumn, and the temperature is getting lower every day, Tu Yan thought, he shouldn't be able to find this piece. He tucked the cardigan into his bag, thought for a moment, and reached for a basic shirt. Instinctively compelled. It's not my fault, I can only blame God for making me an omega, and Tu Yan excused himself in his heart. He pulled the closet, cleaned up the scene, and when he was about to leave, he went to the bathroom to take a look. Toiletries for one person alone. Tu Yan didn't know what he was confirming, maybe he knew, but he refused to admit it. After a quick glance, he ran out the door. As he was about to run to the gate of the courtyard, he heard the man's footsteps. Tu Yan was so frightened that he lost his soul. He didn't stop the car all of a sudden. He tripped over his shoelaces at the gate of the courtyard, and he would grab the iron gate with both hands to avoid falling 4 up and 8 forks. The man walked up quickly, and before he had time to speak, Tu Yan hid on the side of the low wall and shouted, "Don't come in." Before his heartbeat calmed down, he was embarrassed by his own stupidity. He heard a faint sound of keystrokes of the combination lock, and quickly panicked, "I told you not to come in. Come in and try." There is no sense of a thief in this tone. The man seemed to stop and took a half step back. Tu Yan heard the familiar sound of metal crutches hitting the ground, and his neck to cheeks kept getting hot. He heard the man ask, "Did you just get hurt?" The voice is still low and gentle. Tu Yan answered honestly, "No." For a long time, Tu Yan's panicked heartbeat returned to normal, and the crimson-orange sunset slowly lost its color, but the man suddenly spoke, with a smile in his tone. He said, "Bunny, if you keep stealing it, I'll have no clothes to wear." Tu Yan blushed with shame, and said bitterly, "I will pay it back, do you think I am rare?" The agent called to urge Tu Yan to get up, and the bell rang for half a minute before Tu Yan opened his eyes in a daze. Tu Yan slept a little sluggishly, and it took a long time to realize that the agent was asking him a question, and his brain turned slowly and said, "Whatever." After the divorce, he was in a daze, and he had 3 meals a day, as if he hadn't had a decent breakfast for a long time. "Is the fried bun okay?" The manager also forgot what Tu Yan likes to eat, so he just reported one. Tu Yan said yes and hung up. Kicked off the quilt, Tu Yan looked down. The man's knitted sweater was tightly wrapped by him, and the shirt was placed flat under the pillow. Tu Yan only smelled it every night. Only the incense of the wood can fall asleep, just like the aftermath of a serious illness that has no cure. After finishing the styling at 9 o'clock, when the makeup artist was packing up the tools, he also observed Tu Yan's face with his peripheral vision, and Tu Yan asked him, "What's wrong?" The dressing room waved her hand awkwardly, "It's nothing, it's just that you seem to have changed a little bit, but you can't tell where you changed." Tu Yan said indifferently, "I haven't seen you for half a year, isn't this normal?" "Must be one of them." After the exclusive interview at 11 o'clock, Tu Yan took the car to the brand event site. He originally thought that he would not attract much attention. After all, he disappeared for half a year. Who would have thought that the nanny car had just passed the traffic light, and there were still 100 meters away from the mall, and the voices of people could be heard through the car window. The organizer specially came over to clear the road, led the driver to enter through the underground garage at the side door, and then took Tu Yan to the lounge through the staff passage. There is still half an hour to start. The staff hurriedly arranged various matters. Some said that there were too many people so that the fire escape was blocked, and the venue had to be changed. Some said that the young fans fell. Yes, it happened to hit the reporter's camera, and 2 groups of people started to make trouble. The brand sent several sets of men's necklaces for Tu Yan to try on. In short, it was a mess. Tu Yan rubbed his temples, trying to suppress the irritability in his heart, but failed several times. The phone was placed on the armrest of the sofa. Tu Yan hesitated for a moment, then suddenly, like a strong man breaking his wrist, he picked up the phone and pressed the screen twice, then held it to his ear. Beep twice, and the call was quickly connected. A familiar voice came from the other end, "Bunny, what's wrong?" The surroundings seemed to be quiet for a moment, so quiet that Tu Yan could hear his heartbeat. "I made a typo." Tu Yan's acting skills were poor and he was short of words. The person on the other end of the phone was not annoyed, and said gently, "Really?" Tu Yan said yes, but didn't hang up. After a while, he said, "Gu Jinbei, I'm coming back today to attend a brand conference. Are you calling me because you're nervous?" Tu Yan's face froze. "I'm so nervous, it's not the first time I'm on stage. I just let you know in advance, or I'm afraid you will be scared when you open the news on your phone later. After all, I am so hot that the event site will be crowded." Gu Jinbei smiled lowly, "I've been frightened, there are indeed many people." It took a long time for Tu Yan to react. What do you mean?" Gu Jinbei probably just came out of the underground garage, and the noises around him became louder and louder. "It's your first appearance after your comeback, how can I not be by your side?" Gu Jinbei had already walked into the venue while he was speaking. Tu Yan didn't dare to move his hand, the receiver was close to his ear, and his heart was hanging on Gu Jinbei's body, following his steps. I said in my heart, Be careful and walk slowly. I was about to blurt it out, but I held it back. Gu Qianbei's walking speed is not slow. Although his legs have been disabled for many years, he has always been diligent in exercising and his muscles are very developed, but Tu Yan is still afraid. Tu Yan is more afraid than Gu Qianbei himself. Sorry, are you okay? The voice of a stranger apologizing suddenly came from the noisy phone. Before Gu Qianbei could speak, Tu Yan suddenly stood up and shouted into the phone, "Did you get hit? Stupid, won't you find a corner seat to sit down?" "Don't worry bunny, I didn't get hit." Gu Qianbei hurriedly comforted him after a while. "What are you being passionate about?" Tu Yan regretted his gaffe. After calming down, he habitually showed his sharp teeth. "I'm just afraid that my comeback will be ruined because of your stampede accident." Gu Qianbei found his place, put away his crutches, and sat down. He knew Tu Yan too well, he knew that he had never been wrong, so he didn't hear it, and only reported, "I found my place." "Yes, in the southeast corner, but you may not see me." "Who wants to see you?" Tu Yan said indifferently. "But I want to see you, I miss you." Tu Yan was silent, his face became hot, and then he remembered the scene of fleeing in front of Gu Qianbei's house a few days ago, and his face burned even more. At this time, the agent came and knocked on the door. "Xiao Yan, it's time to play." Tu Yan nodded, and was about to hang up when he heard a girl's voice on the other end of the phone. "Handsome guy, are you a Tutu fan too? I have extra banners and lights here, and I will send them to you for free. Can you add a WeChat? I will add you to the fan group." Tu Yan's face instantly turned cold, and his eyes became gloomy. He hung up the phone and stood there fiercely, startling the makeup artist who came in to touch up his makeup. Female fans chatted with friends that night, "Too many people there today. The male is still popular. How? What has changed in Tuyan? More handsome. Handsome cracks the sky. Woohoo, I want to go there too." They all turned around to look at me. I didn't dare to move, I didn't even dare to press the shutter. It was, what is it? In order to celebrate Tu Yan's successful comeback, the group of playboys prepared a lavish surprise party for him at the bar owned by Guan Nan's family, saying that they would remove the bad luck for Tu Yan and wash away the dust. Tu Yan didn't want to go, but Shen Fei kept persuading him to come, saying that he wanted to relax his mind, but Tu Yan couldn't explain it, only said, "There are some things at hand that have not been completed, and I will arrive later, let them start first." Do you know what Tu Yan has been like since he was a child? Because his father was rich, he never looked at people in the school, and every word he said to you was alms, even if he touched you. If it is dirty, he is a white swan, and everyone else is a chicken in a chicken coop. Shen Fei frowned while listening. "What did you say? Tu Yan is just a little proud. Selling your son to someone else's house with a face, to be a wife for a cripple. I think it's funny, you don't know how Tu Yan was when he was forced to get married by his father half a year ago, and his father snobbed in front of his family." With tears in his eyes, he said, "Yan Yan, Dad is for your own good." Everyone laughed, only Shen Fei looked unhappy. The good man then asked, "Are you there?" Guan Nan was not there at the time, he heard it from the driver of the Gu family and others bragging about the mountains, but he still stuck his neck and said, "Yes." "Then you didn't see what Gu Er looked like?" "Gu Er was not there at the time, so I never saw Gu Er." Someone asked, "By the way, why are you so close to Tu Yan now?" Guan Nan waved his hand. "My dad told him, he said that the two families' company is back on track now, and the two must continue to cooperate in the future. Let me not fall out with Tu Yan, otherwise, how could Lao Tzu be willing to hold this party for him?" Before he finished speaking, the door behind him was kicked open. When everyone heard the sound, they turned their heads and saw Tu Yan standing at the door. After sobering up, he walked up and said embarrassedly, "I'm joking, Master Tu, don't take it seriously." I'm sorry, I took it seriously. Tu Yan raised his eyelids, gave him a cold look, and then punched Guan Nan in the face. The people around immediately came to pull the frame. Shen Fei also hurriedly hugged Tu Yan. Tu Yan broke away, and punched it again. Although Guan Nan was a little jealous of Tu Yan, he was also growing up with a golden spoon. How could he have been so angry? He rushed up to fight with him. Everyone helped each other, and quickly made a mess. I don't know who kicked Tu Yan's crotch, kicking Tu Yan to the point of gasping for breath, and holding one hand on the doorknob, he barely stood firm. Shen Fei saw it and shouted to stop. Tu Xiao is injured. Although the Tu family is not as good as before, but Yu Wei still exists, and Tu Yan is now a popular star. Everyone was shocked when they heard it, and slowly stopped. Shen Fei immediately asked, "Young Master Tu, are you all right?" Tu Yan shook his head, stood up slowly, his eyebrows darkened, he grabbed Guan Nan's collar, "You wait for me." When Tu Yan turned around and walked out the door of the bar, Shen Fei saw that the thin shirt on Tu Yan's back was soaking wet, and his forehead was sweating all the time. He said worriedly, "Young Master Tu, your face is wrong, I'll take you to the hospital." Tu Yan shook his head, "No." Shen Fei was about to approach, but was stopped by Tu Yan, "Don't come here." "What's wrong?" Tu Yan touched the back of his neck and said in a cold voice, "I suppressed the post, don't come here." Shen Fei was stunned. He was a beta and couldn't smell Tu Yan's pheromone, but he heard that Tu Yan was an excellent omega. Once his pheromone was smelled, the consequences would be unbelievable. He asked, "What about that? Please help me to go to the pharmacy to buy a tube of powerful depressant, which will be used near the estrus period." After that, he took out the car keys, got in the car, and closed it tightly. The door. Seeing this, Shen Fei quickly turned around to buy it. Tu Yan felt like his body was split in half, one half was scorched by fire, and the other half was covered with ice and snow. There was a strong but inexplicable desire that quickly swept over him. Just as she was feeling uncomfortable, Shen Fei called and asked him, "That, Master Tu?" The pharmacist asked that. "Have you ever had in the past month?" Tu Yan was stunned, and after a while he said, "Yes." Shen Fei was obviously stunned for a moment, and then reported to the pharmacist truthfully, and when he sent the restraint sticker to Tu Yan's hand, Tu Yan lay on the back seat, curled up, sweating profusely like drowning. But he couldn't help. When he was about to close the car door, he heard Tu Yan calling him, "Please help me make a call, the one in the call log is called Gu Jinbei, trouble please dial for me, I don't have the strength right now, the password to open the screen is 1234. Shen Fei quickly picked up the phone beside Tu Yan's leg and did the same. After dialing the phone, Tu Yan said, "Thank you, give me your phone, please close the door." "Okay." Shen Fei handed the phone to Tu Yan's ear, then exited and closed the car door tightly. The moment the car door closed, he heard Tu Yan's cry. Very fragile whimper, with a coquettish tone, very different from the usual Tuyan. Then he heard Tu Yan shouting angrily, "Damn Gu Jinbei, what kind of tricks did you put on me?" When Gu Jinbei arrived, Tu Yan was still struggling with the plastic packaging bag of the inhibitor. As he shouted, he smelled a familiar perfume. Mixed with a light woody soft fragrance, that person often used a cedar-scented perfume brand. Tu Yan opened his mouth and blinked his sore eyes twice. He heard his voice amplified in the narrow carriage. "Gu Jinbei. Sorry for being late." Before Gu Jinbei sat down, he first put his arms around Tu Yan's waist and took the sweaty Tu Yan into his arms. Tu Yan felt like a mollusk, being wanton by Gu Jinbei. After fiddling, Gu Jinbei took off the inhibitor in his hand, then supported his buttocks, put him on his lap, and wrapped his arms around his waist tightly. The carriage was full of ambiguous sounds of clothes rubbing against him. Tu Yan lowered his eyes, but he could feel Gu Chen's burning gaze. Gu Jinbei asked Tu Yan to lean against his chest, took out a tissue to wipe his sweat, wiped it all the way from his forehead to his neckline, and Tu Yan let him toss without moving. How uncomfortable! Do I need to go to the hospital? Tu Yan shook his head and pointed to the inhibitor next to him. Help me fight. Are you sure? Tu Yan frowned and glanced at Gu Chenbei. Why are you so long-winded? Gu Chenbei checked the situation of Tu Yan again, and saw that he really looked like he was approaching the estrus period, and there was no better way. Inhibitor, tear open the bag, take out the alcohol cotton and the syringe. This type of powerful inhibitor that is directly injected into the glands was a standing medicine in the family when Tu Yan and Gu Chenbei got married, because at that time Tu Yan treated Gu Chenbei very distrustful. I bought 2 large boxes of inhibitors and a bottle of anti-wolf spray, and put them brightly on the bedside table as a warning. Of course it didn't work much later. Gu Chenbei held Tu Yan's back, and softly called him Bunny while injecting him with inhibitors. The tone was like treating him like a child. Tu Yan squeezed Gu Chenbei's thigh a little shamefully, but unfortunately he didn't have the strength, and Gu Chenbei didn't notice it. When it was over, Tu Yan slumped on Gu Chenbei's chest again, his forehead pressed against Gu Chenbei's cheek, which made him feel uncomfortable, but he couldn't find a more comfortable way. Gu Chenbei's right leg was disabled for many years, so his left leg was strong, and Tu Yan sat on it, feeling a kind of peace of mind for the rest of his life. Is it better? Gu Chenbei asked. Tu Yan did not speak. Take a break in the car, or go home and sleep. Tu Yan opened his eyes, looked at Gu Chenbei, and said coldly, what are you thinking about? We are already divorced, don't try to take advantage of others. Gu Chenbei chuckled lightly, hugged him in his arms, lowered his head and said in his ear, Treasure, if I want to take advantage of others, shut up. Gu Chenbei teased the rabbit so far, he hooked the corner of his mouth, and then reached out to touch Tu Yan's forehead, feeling that the temperature was normal, so he was relieved. What happened today? Nothing. Tu Yan lowered his head and pulled out the corner of Gu Chenbei's clothes to play. Did you get into a fight? Tu Yan's body stiffened, and before he could speak, he felt Gu Chenbei's hand along the waist of his trousers and touched his sore crotch. There is an injury here, and the restraint sticker on the back of the neck was also directly ripped off. Should I be right? Tu Yan pursed his lips, closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. Are those people laughing at you about our marriage? Gu Chenbei was quiet for a moment, then took off his coat and put it on Tu Yan's body. He hugged Tu Yan through the cloth. He said softly, I've made you feel wronged. I'm sorry. I thought divorce would make it easier for you, but I didn't expect that there would still be those rumors. It's none of your business, don't be selfish. Then can you take more care of yourself in the future? Bunny, after your comeback, you will be flying all over the world. I'm afraid I won't be able to arrive in time every time. After Tu Yan's comeback, the topic has been constant, and everyone is discussing where Tu Yan has gone in the past 6 months. Some people guess that he went abroad for further studies, some people guess that he has health problems, and even more, that he is pregnant with the child of actor Chi He, and hides in a private luxury confinement center to raise a baby. Tu Yan put down the phone and vomited at Chi He, who was watching the script next to him. Can you stop disgusting me? You think I think? Chi He rolled his eyes back. The Gu family greeted my boss and said that the public opinion will be controlled within a week, and no one will be allowed to know about your hidden marriage. My boss can't do anything about it, so he dragged me out to lie down. Tu Yan stopped talking when he heard the word Guji. He was bored, flipped through the script at hand, and suddenly frowned. It's a youth movie again. What? Are youth movies bad? Chi He was wearing a fluffy floral shirt, with the neckline opening to his chest muscles, exuding a special alpha perfume like a peacock courtship. Turning his head to look at Tu Yan, the tone is rude. I still want to take a youth film, but unfortunately, the temperament is too domineering as a president, and I can't play a poor student. Tu Yan didn't even bother to roll his eyes. He lowered his head to read the script. Chi He said, by the way, you and Gu Cheokeng's brother are really divorced? He didn't pester you, just let you go. Gu Chaocheng is Gu Jinbei's eldest brother, who is known to all in the shopping mall. Tu Yan's hand turning the page paused, It's really weird, what is the thinking about? He spent hundreds of millions to buy you for half a year. Chi He shook his head incomprehensibly, looked up and down Tu Yan, doubting said, does he have any special hobbies? My God! As Chi He talks, he thinks of bad things, thinks of the kind of perverts that often appear in social news, locks ignorant omegas in the basement, or often plays in rich circles the kind of chaotic party. Chi He's face was instantly horrified, he sorted out his words, and asked implicitly, Tu Yan, have you been wronged? Tu Yan was speechless. No, can you shut up? It's all right, don't be afraid, Tu Yan, if you are really wronged, I will help you get this justice back even if you go bankrupt. Tell me the truth, did that ever bully you? You. Tu Yan was silent, his brain flashed through many pictures in the past 6 months, and his nose was suddenly sour. Chi He was filled with indignation for a long time, and when the anger subsided, he heard Tu Yan lowered his head and whispered, it seems that I was bullying him from beginning to end. The first sentence Tu Yan said to Gu Jinbei was, I don't like you, and I don't want to marry you. The relationship between us makes me feel sick, very sick. When Tu Yan said this, Gu Jinbei just took out his carefully designed wedding ring, and after listening to Tu Yan's words, he silently put the ring back. The smile on the corner of his mouth was a little frozen, but he did not lose his temper, and still said gently, sorry, I was too abrupt. Tu Yan glanced at Gu Jinbei's crutch with contempt, and the mouth was a thorn, just get married, it's just a piece of paper, I don't care, besides, it's quite new to marry a lame man, I've acted in so many plays, but I haven't tried such a role yet. Gu Jinbei smiled, it's an honor to be involved in your new script. Tu Yan punched the cotton, anger was blocked in his throat, and he stared at Gu Jinbei angrily. Why did you marry me? Gu Jinbei helped Tu Yan cut the steak, put down the knife and fork, and said calmly, because I like you, to be precise, it was love at first sight. Tu Yan got goosebumps all over and said in disgust, are you sick? He thought that Gu Jinbei was joking, and thinking of the disgusting marriage life in the future, his heart pounded, so he pushed Gu Jinbei onto the sofa, and then began to take off his shirt, giving up on himself said, do you like me? Come on, anyway, I've already been bought by you, you can do whatever you want, and let me go when you're done, okay? Tu Yan made his debut at the age of 20. In the past 3 years, countless people explicitly or implicitly threw olive branches to him, and Tu Yan blocked them. For this reason, many opportunities were lost. After receiving a lot of unfair treatment, he finally managed to get ahead and won the first Best Newcomer award in his life. The star has just begun to shine, and fate made such a big joke with him. The last button was so tight that he couldn't undo it. He was shaking all over, shivering, and his vision was blurry. He thought of his parents, of his father's respectful nod and bowed when he sent him to Gu's house, of his mother's indifferent got-it when he heard him getting married, of everyone thinking he is still the proud son of the sky, thinking that his fans like to call him the star of the night. But he's about to fall. He felt something dripping on his hand, he looked down and it turned out to be tears. He cried. Suddenly, there was a faint woody fragrance. Gu Jinbei took off his jacket and put it on Tu Yan's body, then took off Tu Yan's strong arm, and helped him fasten the buttons on his chest without saying a word. Sorry, if possible, I also wish we could meet in a simpler way, I am too selfish. Tu Yan looked over with tears in her eyes and saw Gu Jinbei's eyes full of pity and helpless hands, and he cried even more fiercely. It would be nice if Gu Jinbei was a bad person, if only he was as ugly and sinister as the rumors said. This way Tu Yan can hate him completely and unreservedly. Good thing you're free now. Chi He sighed deeply, I am very impressed, the sentence you sent me when you first got married, you said that other people's marriages are just the grave of love, and you are just watching to be buried alive. Tu Yan was embarrassed with black lines. How could I say such a hypocritical thing? I still keep the voice you sent me in the early morning when you got drunk the night you got your certificate. Tu Yan felt ashamed, and quickly urged him to delete it. What to delete? You said it so well, I cried so much. Later, I always used your words to remind myself that you can't get married, even if I die that day, I scatter my ashes into the sea, and I don't take any into the grave of marriage. Tu Yan hesitated. Actually, if you meet the right person halfway through speaking, he suddenly realized that he didn't seem qualified to say this. Hey? What did you say? He asked. Tu Yan waved his hand. Nothing. The two were chatting when Tu Yan's cell phone suddenly rang. It was his manager who called and asked him to post a few recent photos without makeup. The producer of the new drama will use it. Tu Yan has always disliked selfies, so he asked Chi to help him take 2 random photos. Chi is a selfie maniac, and he claims to be the best selfie alpha in the fashion industry. Listening to the shutter sound, there are countless clicks within a few seconds. Have you been bored? Chi turned over and over in Tu Yan's mobile phone photo album to carefully select. What do you know? It's called Details Determine Success or Failure. In the end, with a swipe of his hand, he turned over a few more sheets. Wait, it seems that a handsome guy flashed past. Tu Yan reacted quickly, her face changed, and quickly grabbed the phone. Chi squinted slightly, and smiled wickedly. Oh, don't tell me if you have a secret, it's only been divorced for a few days. Ah, just found a new love? Tu Xiao Yan can't see that you are such a person. No, you can show it to me, the side face just now is completely my dish. I just take a look, and don't rob you. Tu Yan hid the phone under him and held it tightly. Don't show it to me, right? I'll post the picture of your bedwetting as a child on Weibo now. You. This trick he tried many times, and he successfully reached out to Tu Yan. Tu Yan wanted to secretly delete the photo on his body, but before he could touch the power button, he stretched out his arm at the right moment and grabbed the phone. The screen of the phone was still stuck on that photo. Fuck, it's really my thing. He enlarged the screen with 2 fingers, admired it carefully, and praised, the temperament is so elegant, and the outline is so delicate, it looks like that the noble son from a famous family. Wow, the clothes are good, and he looks very gentle. Tu Yan was inexplicably panicked when he heard it. He originally wanted to fool around, but when he said this, he was a little unhappy and retorted, how can you exaggerate? Entertainment, there are more people in the circle who are better looking than him. There are very few people in the entertainment industry who have his temperament. Tu Yan, tell me honestly, who is his last name? Tu Yan said dully, Gu Jinbei. Who? Gu Chaocheng is his younger brother. He opened his eyes wide, was quiet for a full minute, and then shouted, how is it possible? The rumors don't say that he is ugly and lame. Tu Yan thought to herself, when I first saw Gu Jinbei, I had the same reaction. Then he slammed the table on the table, startling Tu Yan. Just as he was about to scold him, he heard he ask, this kind of superb quality, why are you willing to divorce him? Tu Yan was startled and asked himself, yes, why? He thought of an answer that would convince him, because the agreement he forced Gu Jinbei to sign had expired, and he agreed to divorce when it expired. In order to force Gu Jinbei to sign this agreement, he tried his best, and even used a beauty trick. Who would have thought so many unexpected things would happen later? Secretly get the certificate, don't hold a banquet, and don't let others know. Also, I'm moving out of the Gu family. I don't want to live with your parents and your brother. When Tu Yan said this series of requests, he was ready to be rejected, but Gu Jinbei agreed after only a few seconds of thought. Tu Yan was taken aback, really? Gu Jinbei put down the book in his hand, raised his head and looked at him. Of course, I think your proposal is very good. When Gu Qianbei looked at someone, his eyes were always focused, and Tu Yan was a little flustered by him, so he lowered his head, pretended to play with his mobile phone, and then pretended to be casual. Then you have what request? You can also mention it to me, so I can still make a request. Gu Qianbei said with a smile. Tu Yan understood Gu Qianbei's voice, and remembered what Gu's servant said behind his back. This little star is too arrogant. He was sent by his father to pay off his debts, but he keeps pointing fingers at Shao all day long. Those who don't know, think Shao owes him hundreds of millions. Gu Qianbei didn't answer immediately, but held the crutches, got up from the sofa, and walked in the direction of Tu Yan. Tu Yan subconsciously wanted to avoid it, maybe he sensed Tu Yan the resistance. Gu Qianbei stopped and said, I only have one request. Tu Yan looked over. You don't always hide from me like this, okay? He said the last three words very slowly and softly, which sounded a little pitiful, making people unable to refuse. Tu Yan's eyelashes trembled, and he made an inaudible Just this one request. He was still a little disbelieving. Gu Qianbei raised the corners of his mouth towards him. Of course I also want to make other requests, such as Tu Yan hurriedly stopped. Just say one, don't be rude. Okay, just one. Gu Qianbei smiled, then looked down at the time, and asked Tu Yan, what would you like to eat tonight? Tu Yan didn't want to be led by Gu Qianbei's nose. I don't want to eat anything. Then he went to his room. Crossing the corner of the stairs, he caught a glimpse of Gu Qianbei who was still standing, and Tu Yan suddenly thought of another very important thing. Gu Qianbei was so obedient to him that he promised him everything. What about the divorce settlement? Will he also be willing to sign? Tu Yan secretly thought, probably not, then Gu Qianbei will lose a lot of money? People are selfish animals, and Gu Qianbei doesn't like him to the point of throwing hundreds of millions of dollars into the water. But he remembered the way Gu Qianbei looked at him, and felt that it was not impossible. It's not the way to be a stranger like this, you say? Tu Yan put down her phone and sat on the sofa in the study, looking at Gu Qianbei with a relaxed expression. Gu Qianbei's eyes shifted from the computer screen to Tu Yan's face. He suddenly smiled for some reason, then raised his eyebrows and said, yes. Tu Yan coughed lightly to hide his guilty conscience. He said the prepared lines, let's have dinner together tonight. Okay, where to go? I will decide the place, you can go. After Tu Yan finished speaking, he jumped out of the sofa and trotted back to his room with his slippers on. Gu Qianbei looked at his back and smiled helplessly. When Tu Yan was in the acting academy, he occasionally participated in some unscripted improv performances, and most of the time he performed very well. It's just that this time it's a bit special, his rival actor is his titular husband. I hope Gu Qianbei doesn't screw everything up. He first booked a box at a hotel frequented by highly discreet entertainers, then took a shower, put on a casual suit that showed his figure, and took care of his hair. He even wore a black crystal earring. He looked at himself in the mirror and felt that it should brighten Gu Qianbei's eyes. He has always been confident in his appearance. He sent a message, the wine has been delivered to you in the box, remember, the bottle with a white 5-point star painted on it is wine, and in the other bottle I filled you with soda water, don't drink it wrong. Can you guarantee that the wine will work? Absolutely useful, I tested it myself, the taste is similar to wine, but 1 sip is on top, and 2 sips are basically in a half-drunk state, even the bank card password can be explained. He also asked Tu Yan what he wanted to do, but Tu Yan didn't say anything, only replied, I'll tell you when it's done. Then he knocked on Gu Qianbei's door, but he didn't hear any sound from inside. He thought that Gu Qianbei was not there, so he pushed the door and went in directly. Gu Qianbei collided head-on. Gu Qianbei only wrapped a bath towel around his waist, his upper body was naked, and the mermaid line was clearly tight. Tu Yan was so frightened that he was about to step back, but he was caught by his slippers, his foot slipped out, and hit the anti-collision suction cup behind the door. He screamed in pain, and squatted down quickly covering his heels. As soon as he raised his head, he was right at the position between Gu Chunbei's legs. At the same time, he suddenly smelled the unfamiliar and powerful alpha pheromone in the water vapor. Tu Yan's breath stagnated, and after reacting, he was so ashamed that his whole body was about to smoke. He pushed Gu Chunbei angrily, and ran off. Gu Chunbei was confused by the series of reactions of Tu Yan, grabbed the door frame of the bathroom with one hand and stood up, then took off the bath towel and changed his clothes, picked up the slippers that fell by the door, went to next door. He knocked on the door and joked, "Cinderella, you lost one of your slippers." The next second, the door opened and another slipper flew out. Gu Chunbei didn't know what kind of temper Tu Yan was losing again, so he helped him pick up his slippers, put them on the mat at the door, and then turned back to his room. Half an hour later, Gu Chunbei received a call from Tu Yan. His tone was still angrily, without the slightest invitation, "Go downstairs and have dinner." Gu Chunbei picked up his cane and coat and went out. The driver parked the car at the door. Tu Yan sat in the back seat carelessly. After seeing Gu Chunbei, he immediately turned his head to look out the window, and put a sticker on the door. He didn't speak to Gu Chunbei all the way. When they arrived at the hotel, Tu Yan skillfully led Gu Chunbei through the side door, and then went to the reserved box under the guidance of the waiter. When the dishes were all ready, Tu Yan suddenly raised his hand and said to the waiter, "Thank you, you can go out, I don't really like having waiters there during dinner." The waiter then exited and closed the door. Only Tu Yan and Gu Chunbei were left sitting opposite each other in the box. Gu Chunbei still looked gentle, looked at Tu Yan and smiled, "Today is very beautiful." Tu Yan made a non-committal then suddenly got up, picked up the wine bottle in the middle of the table, poured half a glass of wine for Gu Chunbei, did not return to the seat after pouring, leaning lazily against the table, with his calf against Gu Chunbei's leg. He lowered his head and asked him, "The last time you said you fell in love with me at first sight, was it true?" Gu Chunbei raised his eyes and looked at him, "Really? But I don't believe in love at first sight." He raised the glass to Gu Chunbei and smiled pleasantly, "What is love at first sight? It's just lust." Gu Chunbei took the wine glass and was non-committal. "When did you first meet me?" 3 years ago, the first movie you starred in, Summer Boy. "Oh, I was only 20 years old that year." Tu Yan imagined the surrounding as a studio, Gu Chunbei as an ordinary rival actor, and the crystal chandelier as a camera and fill light, with a pretentious tone, trying to tempt Gu Chunbei. "How did you feel when you saw me for the first time? You thought I was good looking, and then you reacted." Gu Chunbei saw Tu Yan's tight mouth and the whitish knuckles clenched by the table. He said calmly, "I'm very moved, I want to know more about you." "Then what did you learn?" "I watched a lot of your interviews and programs." Gu Chunbei put his arm on the chair handle and tapped his fingertips. He said slowly, "Although all the people like to use peacock to describe you, but in my opinion, you are more like a little rabbit. You are very vigilant, you like to observe the environment, and you don't like to interact with people on the surface, but it's actually because of fear." Tu Yan's expression changed. "You are not qualified to define me." "Sorry." Gu Chunbei said sincerely. Tu Yan knows that he can't be angry now, his goal tonight has not been achieved. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "Don't be sorry, you have won anyway. I'm already married to you, and I can't refuse what you want to do." Tu Yan took another bottle of wine and poured it on himself, then leaned over and touched Gu Chunbei's glass. "I wish me a happy wedding." Then he drank it all in one gulp. After drinking, he frowned, as if in doubt, but after a few seconds he stretched out again and picked up the bottle to add a glass to himself. Gu Chunbei also raised his glass, but after taking a sip, he felt that something was wrong, so he didn't finish it. He saw that Gu Chunbei hadn't finished drinking, so he grabbed his sleeve and urged him, "I'll let you finish it, do you hear me?" Gu Chunbei was helpless, raised his head and drank it all. How much do you like me? Tu Yan's tone became straight, he was a little unsteady, and half of his body was leaning against the table. Gu Jinbei ignored him, got up and took the wine bottle beside Tu Yan, and then saw the replaced packaging film. Tu Yan was still immersed in his own script. He touched Gu Jinbei's neckline, blinked his eyes, and asked him, "Tell me, how much do you like me?" Gu Jinbei was afraid that he would fall over, so he put his hands on the table beside him, trapped him on his chest, and said softly, "I like it very much. Do you like it enough to do anything for me?" Yet. Tu Yan drank another half glass of wine, then said, "Then I asked you to sign something, do you sign it?" Gu Jinbei didn't speak, only looked at Tu Yan quietly, his eyes were blurred, and his eyes were as red as peach petals. Turning words, Tu Yan's mind has completely disobeyed his brain, and he only remembers one thing, to ask Gu Jinbei to sign the divorce agreement. When he saw Gu Jinbei's hesitation, he panicked immediately. No matter what, he hugged Gu Jinbei's neck, buried his face in his neck, and kept saying, "No, you have to sign, you have to sign, you have to sign." As he said that, he hooked Gu Jinbei's legs with his legs like a koala and climbed on him. How could Gu Jinbei endure such a tossing, so he had to hold Tu Yan's buttocks and sit on the chair behind him, and Tu Yan straddled Gu Jinbei's body. Dizzy, he took out a piece of paper and a pen from his arms, and stuffed his head into Gu Jinbei's hand. Gu Jinbei unfolded the paper and saw the striking 5 characters divorce agreement. The marriage relationship lasts for half a year. Tu Yan closed his eyes and sat down on Gu Jinbei's legs. During the period, Party B shall not behave in any way towards Party A, and shall not use pheromones to make Party A in a state of distress for misbehavior. Tu Yan hugged Gu Jinbei's neck tightly, found a comfortable place to lean against, and felt that her lower body was in a panic, so she reached out and unfastened Gu Jinbei's belt buckle. Party A shall not be completely marked, nor shall Party A be compelled to do anything unwilling to do. Gu Jinbei held down Tu Yan's little paw and looked at him dumbfoundedly. "Are you bullying people too much? Where can I hear Tu Yan?" He sniffed the woody scent between Shen Bai's neck and fell asleep. Gu Jinbei looked at the black and white writing in his hand, and did not write for a long time. At this time, Tu Yan's mobile phone vibrated twice, which was a message from Chi-He. "Tu Yan, have you drunk? How are you?" Tu Yan has been dreaming frequently lately and sleeping very badly. In the beginning, it was some messy fragments from childhood, student days, and the past when I first entered the industry. But in the second half of the night, the picture will start to be clear. The intense background music suddenly slows down, and only he and Gu Jinbei are left on the stage. Gu Jinbei walks towards him, the metal crutches hit the ground. He walked very slowly and calmly, like a long shot with a deep understanding of the principle of perspective, and the light, shadow, and depth were just right. On the second night, he dreamed of his first meeting with Gu Jinbei. That day was the day before the certificate was issued. Tu Yan's father, Tu Fiheng, and Gu Chaocheng signed an agreement. The money soon arrived in Tu Fiheng's account. Tu Fiheng smiled and nodded, and the Gu family sent someone to pick up Tu Yan. The Gu family's car drove in front, and the moving company's car followed. When he slowly entered the community, Tu Yan stood by the window and looked at it, thinking indifferently, "It's ridiculous that he seems to be carrying a big sedan chair." Gu Jinbei was sitting in the co-pilot of the car in front that day, and Tu Yan glanced at him when he got in, but he did not distinguish this superior-looking man from the rumored ugly man at all. The lame Gu got in touch. He raised his eyelids and asked, "Are you Gu Jinbei's secretary?" Gu Jinbei was stunned for a moment, then smiled, and Tu Yan assumed he was. Maybe she was taking care of Shen Baimianshan, or maybe Tu Yan was in a very depressed mood at the time. Halfway through the car, Tu Yan suddenly said, "Is he so interesting? Can money buy love?" Gu Shenbei was silent. "If he promises, he will give everything to make you happy." "I don't need it." Tu Yan looked at the traffic outside the window. "If it were you, wouldn't you feel disgusting?" Sorry. Tu Yan hummed softly, and said indifferently, what do you apologize for? You can wait for the car to drive to the door of Gu's house. As soon as Tu Yan got out of the car, he saw the young man in the passenger seat open the car door. When he got up, his movements were already smooth, but it still left Tu Yan stunned, unable to move. Gu Chenbei walked up to him with guilt and distress in his eyes. He asked, "Did you scare you?" He stretched out his hand towards Tu Yan and said softly, "Let's get to know each other again, shall we? I'm Gu Chenbei." Tu Yan was so angry that he didn't want to speak. He turned and left. On the third night, he dreamed that he overturned the beauty meter. He woke up from a hangover that morning with a splitting headache, opened his eyes for a long time, and then suddenly remembered the divorce agreement, thinking that he must have screwed up, and the bedboard jumped up. Just as he was about to run out to confront Gu Chenbei, he saw a piece of paper on the bedside table. His divorce papers. Gu Chenbei signed at Party B's place. His font is very chic, which is a little different from his gentle personality. Then he noticed that Gu Chenbei changed one thing. He changed the original Party A will pay off the debt within 5 years to there is no time limit, and it will stop when it is paid off. Tu Yan held up the divorce agreement in disbelief and read it several times, but still felt it was unreal, for fear that Gu Chenbei would dig a hole for him in it. He got out of bed, the clothes on his body were still from last night, there was no sign of being untied, the happiness came too suddenly, he was still a little dizzy, put on his slippers and walked out the door. Gu Chenbei was cooking breakfast for him in the kitchen. Hearing Tu Yan's footsteps, Gu Chenbei turned around and smiled at him, "Wake up? Do you have a headache?" Tu Yan covered his head and looked at him, as if he didn't know him, and shook his head blankly. "What's wrong?" Gu Chenbei put the toast on the plate. Tu Yan held the divorce agreement in front of Gu Chenbei. "This. Someone sat on my lap last night, molested me and forced me to sign, what else can I do? I was drunk." Tu Yan defended himself. "In fact, even if there is no divorce agreement, I would like to find an opportunity to tell you, Tu Yan, when we first met, I said that I would do my best to give you happiness, this is mine in my heart, but if I don't do it, or what I give is not what you want, I won't pester you anymore, I will give you back your freedom, I don't want you to remember me in the future, only hate and hate." Tu Yan felt that something warm and sour was flowing into his heart, circulating in his body along the blood vessels. "You." Tu Yan wanted to cry inexplicably, he felt his heart soften, "You say this as if you are a victim, obviously I am the victim." Gu Chenbei was about to speak when he was grabbed by Tu Yan, "Don't say sorry, I don't want to hear you say these 3 words anymore." Gu Chenbei shut up, he came over, took a small square box beside the table in his hand, brought it to Tu Yan, and asked in his tone, "Then can I say this sentence?" "Talk." "What?" Gu Chenbei opened the small box and found 2 rings inside. "Will you marry me?" Tu Yan felt that his face was hot, he broke the atmosphere and said, "I have received the certificate and signed the divorce agreement. Are you asking me this now?" Gu Chenbei took out one of them, "As long as you want, it's never too late." Tu Yan suddenly realized that he hadn't looked at Gu Chenbei's appearance carefully, he secretly looked at him out of the corner of his eye, only to find that he was quite handsome, with sharp eyebrows and sharp nose. "It's only half a year, time flies," Tu Yan said to himself. He stretched out his hand, spread his fingers and placed it in front of Gu Chenbei, wear it, it's too much trouble." On the 4th night, he dreamed that one day Gu Chenbei was cooking in the kitchen, he ran in and stole the cucumbers that Gu Chenbei was going to cook. He was caught by Gu Chenbei and pressed against the wall. Gu Chenbei gestured to spank him, he avoided, but his forehead rubbed against Gu Chenbei's lips inadvertently, the soft touch made both of them stunned for a moment, Gu Chenbei's eyes changed, but he didn't do anything, just held Tu Yan's wrist and rubbed the pulp of his fingers twice in his palm. Then the sound of vegetables being put into the pot, the water and oil collided, causing a loud cracking sound. Tu Yan suddenly woke up from the dream, his heart was up and down, and he subconsciously called out Gu Qianbei, but no one responded. I just remembered that they were divorced. Don't make a mistake. The agent stuffed 2 pages of A4 paper into Tu Yan's hand, then turned to catalyze the makeup artist and assistant. Tu Yan flipped through it twice, but he didn't care too much, but a familiar name caught him in the corner of his eye, which made him stop. Gu Chaocheng. No way. Tu Yan immediately had a headache, called his agent, and asked her, this is Huashan's new product launch. The agent was asked, yeah, what's wrong? Then Gu Chaocheng is coming too. Yes, he is the person in charge and sits next to you. Tu Yan scolded secretly, and the agent wondered, do you have a conflict with Mr. Gu? Tu Yan waved his hand and made an excuse, it's okay, I just heard that he has a bad temper. The agent smiled and said, scare me, I thought there was something big, he is the father of the gold master, he can't be offended by his bad temper, that's okay, just watch it for a few more minutes, then I do my hair and makeup, and the conference starts at 3 o'clock. When Tu Yan entered the arena, he aroused strong cheers from the fans in the back row. Although he was invisible for half a year and faced the spotlight and the red carpet again, Tu Yan also quickly adapted, he put on a suitable smile, greeted the fans at the scene, and then the staff directed him to the exclusive seat. Gu Chaocheng arrived just before the start of the press conference. As soon as he saw Tu Yan, he frowned and sat down reluctantly, not even giving Tu Yan a good face. The brother's brother, although the eyebrows and eyes are similar, but the temperament is diametrically opposite. It's the advertising department's mistake to choose you as the spokesperson, don't be too sentimental. The host was reading out the process of the press conference enthusiastically, but Gu Chaocheng suddenly opened his mouth. Just in time for Tu Yan to hear, you and Shen Bai have divorced, and the Gu family will not give you any career protection. Tu Yan sneered, I can't ask for it. He and Gu Chaocheng have never dealt with each other, because Gu Chaocheng is a crazy brother. In his eyes, no one can match the perfect Gu Qianbei. From the moment Tu Yan entered the Gu family, I never looked at Tu Yan. Don't speak too early, or one day you will have nowhere to go, and it will be difficult to sign a contract of sale. President Gu, don't worry, that day won't happen. Tu Yan turned to Gu Chaocheng with a commercial smirk, but with needles in his eyes, you don't need to mock me like this, you don't look down on me anymore, it doesn't change the fact that Gu Qianbei loves me. Love you? Where did you get your confidence? You two are divorced, Shen Bai will start his new life soon, and he will forget you sooner or later. Tu Yan sat up straight and looked very calm, but his hand tightly clasped his cuff in the dark. It's hard to find a beautiful Omega? You're not the only one in youth films, Gu Chaocheng sneered, it's you, can you find someone better than Shen Bai? Tu Yan did not speak, he looked ahead, not letting the reporters in the back row see the clue. Gu Chaocheng added, I'm already introducing suitable people to Shen Bai, and everyone is better than you. By the way, yesterday, the third lady of HT Group had afternoon tea at Shen Bai's house. Tu Yan felt that a string in his brain suddenly disconnected, the pictures in front of him were blurred, and the sound in his ears became empty. Tu Yan didn't know how he spent the whole press conference. He only remembered that he was like a mechanical humanoid prop. He took pictures. He forced himself not to want that person, but failed. As soon as the press conference was over, he picked up his coat and car keys and left. The manager called him from behind, but he turned a deaf ear. What is he doing? Why is he here? What does he want to see? Or, what do you want to see? Be able to act faster than his brain. Before finding the answer, he got out of the car, pressed the combination lock of the door, and came to the eaves of the door. He knocked on the door twice, and half a minute later, the door was opened. Gu Qianbei was wearing dark blue home clothes and was a little surprised when he saw him, Bunny. At this time, Tu Yan heard the sound of porcelain plates colliding in the kitchen, and then a female voice came out, "Shen Bai, who is outside?" The female voice sounded familiar, but it was wrapped in the sound of rain, and Tu Yan could not distinguish it. He felt something falling in his heart, making it hard for him to breathe. Gu Jinbei was afraid that he would get wet in the rain, so he quickly pulled him in. Tu Yan wanted to turn around and left, but Gu Jinbei's strength was stronger than him, he couldn't break free, he was in a stalemate at that time. The people in the kitchen came out. "It's a small talk." Tu Yan was stunned for a moment, then raised his head, the whole person was stunned. It turned out to be Gu Jinbei's mother. Mother Gu was a little surprised when she saw him, and then looked at Gu Jinbei helplessly. The original smile on her face disappeared, and she only said lightly, "I thought you two had already not seeing each other." Gu Jinbei didn't answer, only said, "It's getting late, you go back first, Uncle Chen's car has already arrived at the door." Tu Yan kept his head down, he didn't dare to look at his mother's eyes. Mother Gu also doesn't like Tu Yan, but her dislike is different from that of Gu Chaocheng. She is more distressed for her son. Gu Jinbei grew up in the love of his parents and brothers, but he Tu Yan has suffered countless injuries here, and anyone who sees it will feel distressed. Tu Yan can understand, so he is ashamed of Gu mother. Mother Gu didn't speak for a long time, her eyes turned back and forth on the faces of Tu Yan and Gu Jinbei, and finally sighed a long time. "Take care of yourself, mommy will come back another day." Mother Gu picked up her bag and left. As soon as the door closed, Gu Jinbei reached out and touched Tu Yan's ear, laughing at him. "Little bunny is so scared that his ears are drooping, so pitiful." I was on a roller coaster in the mood, and Tu Yan only felt mixed emotions and didn't know what to think. He pushed Gu Jinbei away and wanted to leave, but Gu Jinbei held him back. "Why did you suddenly come here today? You have to give me a reason. You take care of me. This is my house, do you know that you are breaking into the house privately?" Gu Jinbei lowered his head to tease him, "Be careful and I will call the police." Tu Yan ignored him and was about to throw his arms away, but suddenly stopped. "What's the matter?" Gu Jinbei felt that something was wrong, so he approached, and then he smelled a strong milk fragrance. He was stunned, and then said, "Bunny, you are in heat, it's time." When the call from the agent called, Tu Yan was on the bed on the second floor. Bursting river. The alpha emitting a strong pheromone asked him, "Bunny, do you want my temporary marker, or me?" Tu Yan will only whimper, speechless. Gu Jinbei put his hands on the side of his neck, leaned over and kissed his forehead, then held his calf and separated his legs, easily defeating Tu Yan's stubborn resistance. Gu Jinbei Shen Bai pressed against his already soaked mouth and squeezed in bit by bit. He kissed Tu Yan's lips and said softly, "Bunny, don't blame me, you brought it to your door yourself."